Hello YouTube. We're making a video today on how to fix a power seat for a 2007 Honda Accord. This is a EXL version with the leather seat and a power seat. So we're gonna first show you what's the problem. Can you turn it off, please? Thank you, Ayush. All right, so the problem is when you try to slide this seat forward, it kind of moves a little bit on one side. See, notice this side is moving, and then when you slide it back again, that side moves. That side doesn't move at all. Okay, and the problem really is, I'm gonna show you what the problem is first. I hope you can see it. We're gonna try to go under here and kind of point it out for you. Well, can't see it, but there's a motor right here. If you can see my finger. So this is the motor that drives the track forward and backward. The seat on the track forward and backward. This motor is supposed to have a little connector from other side of the motor all the way to this gearbox on this side, which apparently is missing in this car. We bought it used, so don't know how somebody lost that part. But so we're gonna show you how to replace that particular shaft, which is gonna allow you to transfer the torque from the motor down to the other lead screw. So there are two lead screw, one on each slide, each side of the seat, which is basically moves your seat on the track forward and backward. So in this case, only one lead screw is getting the power from that motor, the other is not because of the missing link. So we're gonna show you how to fix it. Okay, so first thing you're gonna do is take a 14mm wrench, and there are two hidden bolts under these little covers. So you take these plastic covers off and take these two bolts on the back and another two in the front. So there's one right there, another on that side. So those four bolts need to come out, and we're gonna remove disconnect all the connectors under the seat that powers all the different motors, and then we're gonna show you how to replace that connector. All right, so we'll be back after we take the seat out of the car. Okay, so we're back. We got the seat out on the table now. It's upside down. This is the front side, that's the back side. So front side, that motor, so there are two tracks, one on the inside of the car, one on the outside of the car, and the motor is right here. There's supposed to be a shaft connecting this motor with this gearbox for this lead screw. So this lead screw moves one side, the other side gets no power in this case. So we're gonna have to replace this shaft. Now, I don't know the part number, it doesn't say anything on it. This is the part that was missing, and we had to go to the junkyard and get this, really a piece of junk, to get this one part. Okay, so you might have to go to the junkyard, find the power seat from any Honda Accord 2003 all the way to 2007. And now, okay, well, let's talk about how you get this part out, because it's kind of tricky, right? It's between this rail and that rail, and we kind of started loosening various bolts and nuts and whatever around the frame, and we had a kind of catch-22. My idea was to remove everything from the top, including this connector, and try to separate these two rails so we can get this shaft out. Well, apparently, you notice that guy is connecting this connector between two rails. There's no way to access that. If you remove this, you can access that, but if you remove this part, which means you need to remove that star bolt, which has no access either. So how do you get this frame apart? I have no idea. So what we ended up doing, let me show you what we did to get this part out. We loosened two 10mm bolt nuts here, and two 10mm nuts right there on the front side of the rail, and then we pop these two things, which are, these are tilt connector, by the way. This is what controls your tilt of the seat. So we remove those two brackets out of those bolts that are sticking from the rail I don't know if you can see, there are 2 bolts sticking out from the rail, and we yanked them this guy out from the bolt, so at least it gives them some wiggle room for these 2 frames, 2 rails, sorry. So we pull the rail this on the out wide, and then you're gonna need a helper to pull the other part, and then you just simply pry this shaft out of the connectors. So now is the tough part, and we're gonna try to show you. So the idea is to put this part right there. Right now, obviously it's not gonna fit, right? So we're gonna do the same drill. We're gonna take these 2 nuts from this side and that side. You can't see it. We're gonna have to remove some trim, and then we're gonna yank this again and put this shaft back inside. And that's the plan. And I'm not gonna show you the whole process when we fight with this thing, but I'm gonna tell you it works or not. Okay, how's that for a deal? Okay, so we'll be back and show you did it work or not. Okay, thanks. All right, so we're gonna kind of document the steps here for you to follow. So this trim was right here. Okay, there are 2 screws holding on it, one on this corner, another on this corner, and we removed this trim, which is kind of held by this bracket right here and this bracket right here, latched onto this part here, and then finally this little spring, and then a couple of alignment tabs which doesn't really engage, so you should be able to just pull those. So these 2 are engaged and this 3rd one engaged. Okay, so this is the panel with the controls, and there's a connector that obviously you need to disconnect this one. Okay, so we got this plastic trim from the side and from the back off, and then we removed all these tabs that are holding the top or the seat in place. So you take this little thingy off, and then you can move this one from back of the seat, the outside of the seat, and the inside of the seat, and then front side has 2 little tiny tabs and 2 corner tabs. Okay, so all of these needs to come off, and the next step is we're going to remove the seat. Why we're doing this? Okay, so we need access to these 2 bolts here. Okay, or sorry, nuts, and well, same thing, 2 nuts on this side. Well, this trim needs to come off as well. So this little side trim is pretty easy because all it's got is just 2 spring tabs like that one and that one, and a little latch here. So that one is off. So we need access to this 2 nuts here, and then these 2 nuts here, and that's what's gonna allow us to remove this little metal part that controls the tilt off of the rails, and then we can yank the rails out, like this rail pulling out, that pushing in, and we can put this little piece back in there. Okay, so we're doing a whole exercise of removing the seat, removing all the trims, just get to those 2 little, you know, pardon my language, but pain in the butt nuts. Okay, so we'll be back. After with that, what you do is put the seat like this. Okay, and this seat has 2 connectors for the occupancy sensor and the heater right here. So you're gonna disconnect them from the under here. I don't know, where was it? These 2 right here. Okay, and then you kind of start to pull the seat out from the front side of the seat, and then pull this, kind of pry back. I mean, you can take it out completely, but we didn't take it out completely. We just wanted to access to those 2 bolts, right, or nuts. So now the next thing in the way is this little pan, the steel looking pan, and so it's held up by these 2 bolts on this side. All right, sorry, my bad. And then 2 of them on, no, don't ever use that part. That is what strips the bolt. So we use the socket wrench to break these 2 bolts. Hang on. Right. So we're gonna remove this, and this is the last part. You're gonna need to remove the steel looking thing. Again, you don't have to remove all the mushrooms for the wire connector. You just remove these 4 bolts and you pull it back just like you did with the seat, and that will give access to these 2 nuts on both sides of the rail, and that's gonna help us move these rails apart. So we'll come back when we do that. We have this steel pan kind of pried back, and like I said, you don't have to remove any connector, just kind of push it out like this. That gives us now access to these two nuts right there. So that's the first one of 4, 2 on each side of the rail. So that will allow us to flex the rail, hopefully. Okay, this is how we got the part out, so we're hoping this is how we can put it back in. Remember, always assembly is reverse of the disassembly, right? So we're kind of following the same principle here, and hopefully it will work. We don't know. We'll come back. Freed up, we remove these little sockets from both sides. Again, now me and my helper is gonna try to put this in. Okay, so we're gonna put one in first. Hang on, and kind of so both of these. So this is what I call a spring shaft. It has kind of square end on each side, and then there's a kind of densely woven spring. So this kind of shafts are very useful when your motion transfer is not exactly in a straight line, like your lawn, the weed trimmer, for example. So that's the kind of shaft they use to allow some playroom. So we're gonna line up on the one side, and it didn't go in. Maybe try this end, and then whichever is deeper, we're gonna try that one first. Okay, this is deeper, so we're gonna try that. So you put the one end on the motor side, and then we're gonna pull this out. Oh, hang on. Wait. It's not. It's the wrong one. Wrong way. Hang on. Flip it around, because I remember that side was on this side. Good. No, it's not gonna go. Alright, it's not gonna go. I'm gonna figure something out. Let's try and see how much is in there. Okay? Without the plastic part. So that's about right size. Yeah. It's just the stupid plastic part does not want to go in. Only need this much space. That little 5mm and 10mm flex. Alright, why don't we remove these 2 bolts? Try to give it a little more play. Okay? Alright, you can turn it off for me. Oh, and remember we removed these last. So we loosened a lot of the other bolts and whatever. What I ended up doing is there's a 14mm bolts here that's holding this gearbox for the lead screw in place. So we loosened that bolt right here, and then we were able to just yank this lead screw out. So we kind of yanked this lead screw out, and the way you can move it in and out is this whole rail travels with the lead screw, right? So you can use this kind of rail to put that back into place, the gearbox in its place, and then you use this 14mm to secure it back in place. And before you do, just make sure this kind of shaft rotates a little bit, like it would have a play like this, because remember it's made of a spring, and that's as long as it's staying in place. And remember, we still need to tighten all these nuts and stuff. So once we tighten everything back in place, the shaft will stay in place and we're good to go. Okay, so we're gonna come back in a little bit after we put all this stuff back together. We'll show you actually it's working or not. All right. Back together, and we got the seat cushion back in place. Well, by the way, we were thinking, okay, you may not have to remove. Well, by the way, we stripped one of the bolt here, but hey, you may not have to remove all these nuts that we were showing you. The only one you might have to just remove are these two 14 millimeters, which is gonna loosen up these gearbox enough so you can slide this slide out and up. That will give you access to put this rod back in place. So, I mean, try it. We're not gonna go and open it again, but I think if you just open without taking anything, cushion, anything off, nothing, don't take anything off, just do this 14 millimeter, undo that. I don't know how you're gonna access that. Maybe you can with the socket wrench. And the other one here, we and I have to take this control trim and the side trim off. But once you have access to those 14 millimeter, or maybe just only one, you know, because we were able to just slide this one gearbox out and up, and we were able to put this shaft back in. So you may not even have to mess with this side. Just open the 14 millimeter bolt right here for this gearbox, slide the slide up to get this lead screw out, and then put this thing back in. I think that might have just done it, but hey, we didn't know, so we did the whole 9 yards. So let us know in the comment if you think that you can do it with just one bolt. I think we can, but like I said, we're not gonna try it again. So we already put everything back together. All the connectors are back in place, the heater, the occupancy. Now we're gonna put the seat back in, connect these 3 connectors for the main harness, and we should be good to go. We'll let you know. Back, and looks like we put the seat back in, and look at that. Both sides moving, back and forward. So now that seat is working like it's supposed to. It's binding a little bit because the frame of the seat is a little bit crooked, so we're just gonna have to live with that. But for what we wanted, it's working. So I hope you can fix your seat too. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.